Okay, so hi everyone, welcome back to Loyaltiness channel. Today is part of a series that I'm recording for all the students who keep asking about career options and what can I do, and Lord, do I have to go to court all the time? Do I have to practice in Ghana? So today I have a lawyer in Canada. Canada. That's something. That's like a dream for some people. So today I'm going to
Right.
ask all the questions that you may want to ask a lawyer in Canada. The beautiful part is that she started her education in Ghana. And so I want to know all that she did, the process, the education, everything. Every question that comes to mind, I'll ask on your behalf. And drop your questions if you have more questions. She's always available to assist us with answers on this journey. So I'll let her introduce herself. Then I'll go in with the questions that I think that you may be interested in. So, hi Nelia, welcome, and please introduce yourself to us.
Hi, Lawyer Tina.
Yes.
I don't know. I know in Ghana you say my learned colleague,
Ah,
but
yeah.
here we call them my learned friends, or we call them my friends. And so when I say my friend, I mean my learned friend. So hi, my friend.
Hi. I think we
um.
say that here as well, my learned friend, sometimes.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
Well. Um. But thank you for having me. And it's a great thing you're doing on your channel. Congratulations
Oh,
on all the good work that you're doing. I
thank
personally
you.
think that the civic education division of Ghana owes you a very big contract. At least they owe you money.
Thank you. I'll
For
go
the civic
for it.
education that you actually are given to people, and even especially even in the local language, I think it's really commendable. And so, good work.
Thank you.
And thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. Yeah, I would always love to chat about, I wish that I would have had this opportunity. So if I'm here and I can be a signpost for somebody else, why not? So, hi everyone. My name is Cornelia. Um, my legal name is Cornelia Poku Jemfi. My married name is Cornelia Brown.
Yes, you have to say that.
So, as Loyatina said, I am a lawyer in Canada. We'll get into a bit about that. But outside of that, I also, obviously, I said I'm a wife. I'm also a leader of a ministry, a women's ministry called the Phenomenal Woman Network. I'm an author, I'm a speaker. I love to bake, and I just love to talk with like-minded people. And so I'm happy to be here.
Ah, thank you. Thank you. Now that you have introduced yourself, let's get to the Ghana part. I didn't
Okay.
hear anything about Ghana, but I know it started from Ghana. So I will ask you about the Ghana part. So
Right.
can you tell us about your education in Ghana from beginning till you moved?
You want to start from KG?
I mean, you can cut some
Um,
out, but yeah.
so 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 yeah, so back in my high school, I started high school, I completed high school. I did Akosombo International. And coming out of high school, the plan was to go into law directly. But I did not get the grades to go to any of the public law schools at the time. But honestly, at the time, I wasn't really keen on that. It was really my mom that was really keen on me being like reading a law and all of that. I I honestly I couldn't be bothered. Just say
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Um, but she was really keen on me reading law, and so I mean I didn't get the grades that would take me straight into the public law schools, and so I ended up attending a private law school called King's University College in Ghana. At the time, they were running a dual system program, which meant that I was doing both English law, English jurisdiction, and also the Ghana jurisdiction. Now, the good thing is that most of the things overlapped because obviously Ghana was colonized by the British, and so most of even the legal, and you would know this, most of the statutes and the principles and the case law actually even stem from the British legal system. And so it was overwhelming, but it really also wasn't overwhelming that much. And so that's where I had my LLB education, was King's University. Now, as to how I ended up here in Canada, a bit of it has to do with my experience in King's University. And if anyone has followed me for a bit of time, I think I talked about that when about 4 years ago. But just briefly, and this is not to put the school on blast or anything, but just to give perspective. So what had happened was that there were some issues with issuing school certificates for students. And so what that meant was that I could not attend Makola after I had completed the 4 year program at the time, even if I wanted to. And
Oh,
so I had to look at what other options I had. Um, that's just what it was. Because I we didn't have our certificates issued for us at the time. We didn't have a complete qualified transcript to apply to the Ghana School of Law with, and I had finished national service, and I was like, what am I going to do? I didn't want
wow.
to waste. Yeah, 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 yeah. I didn't want to waste the time or anything like that, and so I had always been interested in um marine environmental law. And so I got the opportunity to apply for a master's program. Now, I
Okay.
say this to say all of those things that I'm saying, I just want people to bear in mind that this is my journey. When I'm done
Yeah.
sharing a bit of my journey, I would obviously share what needs to be done, but this is my journey on how I got here. and so um
Okay.
and so I got admission to Dalhousie University in Halifax, Nova Scotia, to study master's program in marine environmental law. It's something that I was actually genuinely intrigued about because when I was in the undergrad, I did an internship in one of the law firms in Accra, and there was a very nice lady there, and she would come to work like 2 times a week. And she had a very
Okay.
nice office, like a very nice corner office, and she had a very nice. She was just, I just liked her. Like I was just enamored with her.
Yeah.
And I asked her what area she was studying or what area she was practicing, sorry. And she was practicing marine environmental law. And basically, so what that means is that it's the law regarding the sea, transportation, shipping, trades, um, all of that stuff is marine environmental law or maritime law, as some people say it. And so I was like, and she comes to work 2 times a week. So that seemed like a catch to me.
Yeah.
And so I spoke to my dean at the time who said, oh yeah, it's actually a very good program. It's a niche that's coming up. And so yeah, you can look into it. And fortunately for me at the time, my dean also had some Canadian experience. Like he lived here. I think he worked here for some time. He taught here, so he had some kind of so he pointed me in some direction to you can apply to this program, apply to that program, that kind of a thing. And so that's how I kind of peaked my interest peaked in the marine environmental space, and I actually loved the program. I had great professors. I loved the program, and so when I finished the LLM, my plan was to now pursue a career in that, in the marine environmental law. So I'll pause there and see and just leave it to you.
I know. All right. So from there, at what point did you think that you're going to do the law in Canada as a professional? Because I know the maritime is just an aspect, a specialization.
Yeah,
So
yeah. And when you do a master's, in fact, when they admit you into the Masters of Law program, there's a caveat that says that you would not. This doesn't qualify you to be a lawyer. And so if you do want to practice law, you would have to do what needs to be done.
okay.
At the time, w- again, when I was going to Canada, I kind of took things on a step by step basis. That's kind of how my brain works. I know some people like to see it, so this is where I want to get to, and then they kind of do it. But my
Yeah.
my brain works functions better in a step by step basis. Like, so I've
Okay.
completed this phase. What's the next phase that I have to do? And
Okay.
so, um, for anyone that wants to practice law in Canada that is foreign trained. So we call people who have a different LLB or JD or legal education or profession outside of Canada, we call them foreign trained here. And so for
Okay.
anyone who wants to be foreign, who's a foreign trained lawyer that wants to practice in Canada, the first thing that you have to do is that you'd have to apply to what we call the Federation of Canadian law societies. But
Okay.
also, before I even go into that, Canada is province governed. And so it's not a centralized government.
Okay.
And what that also translates into the legal system. Which that also means is that lawyers in Canada are province based. And
Okay.
so every province have their own set of rules and regulations on how you can be qualified to be a lawyer.
Well,
Um, the Federation of Law Societies in Canada is a body of all the law societies coming together so that they can regulate the so-called foreign trained lawyers that want to practice in Canada. And
mm,
so for me, that was the next step after completing my master's program. The next step that I had to do was to apply to this board. And when you apply to the board, you basically give them your academic credentials, so your transcript, your CV, and a few other basic documents like basic information about yourself. But the most important ones that they really look at are your resume and your CV, because they use that to determine the courses they would need you to take, whether they
okay.
will waive any courses for you, any of those things, and whether they would actually even admit you into the program, admit you into completing the program. Because there's some people that you're like, no, we cannot admit this person into the program, and so they actually expect you or require you to go to law school all over again.
Okay.
So the NCAs is like a parallel program with what you would have achieved if you attended a Canadian law school,
Okay.
but they kind of shave off a lot of that for you because the assumption is that you already have the basis of a legal education, and so we don't want you to go through the whole thing, the whole program again. And
Mhm.
so these are courses that you can either self-study, or you can, there are people that also organize classes and things that you can attend, but
Okay.
you basically pay for the courses and then you write the exams. There's not a
Mhm.
formal instruction, like there's no formal school or class that you go to. It's more like a self-study thing, but there are people that
Okay.
organize classes here and there, and you can do it and whatnot. um and so there are people that after the evaluation they kind of say, nope, we need you to go to an actual law school. And it's a it comes with different reasons. Sometimes maybe your transcript is not as good as it ought to be, because it needs to meet their
Okay.
standard, right? Don't forget, it needs to kind of meet their standard. So maybe your transcript is not good. Maybe you're coming from a country that doesn't practice common law, and so your education or your legal education was not in common law.
Mm.
And so it's as if you don't know anything. And so they kind of require you to do the whole program
To law
again
school.
in law school, right? But for me, that
Yeah.
was not the case. I was allowed to take the exams. Now, at the time that I was taking the exams, we were required to do. I was required to do five core papers and one elective.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's six papers, and the six papers are basically like what you would do in any legal system. So constitutional law, criminal law, administrative law. There's something we call foundations of Canadian law. There's professional ethics. So those are the five core that you would need to take. And then the elective, depending on whatever your transcript is, I had to choose between, I think, contract property and torts. I chose property law. So that makes six. So you take the six
Yeah.
exams, and the exams has a schedule. Every month they write a few of the exams. You pay for the exams. You get they give you some materials. They give you a syllabus. I beg your pardon. There's a syllabus that you have to use to study. They give you the syllabus, not necessarily the materials you need to study. So you need to maybe go to a library, do whatever you can to get the resources and the materials that you need to study, but you have a syllabus that you need to go through the entire syllabus, right? And so yeah, so you take those sets of exams, and at the end of the period where you take the exam, I took the exam in a year because at the time I was also working full time. And so and also it was expensive. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, it was, at the time it was $500 a paper. Yeah.
That's a lot.
So it's five hundred
That's a
dollars a
lot.
paper. So you kind of had to prepare not just studying, but also financially
Myself.
to take the exams, right? And so I took the exams in a year. So I took the exams in 2022, beginning of 2022, but not 2022. I was done. And so when you finish with those exams, and then you're given the what they call the certificate of qualification. And so that certificate of qualification is almost, it puts you on the same level as somebody who has graduated law school here.
Law degree or professional law school?
Okay, so let me actually go back. So we don't have a, they don't, how Ghana has the law the law school or the law degree and then the professional whatever.
You don't have that
We don't
there.
have a
Okay.
we don't they don't have a professional law school here. And so when we
Okay.
say law school, when they say law school here, they just
English.
mean law school, point blank
Yeah, I
period.
get it. I get it.
So it puts you on the same playing field as somebody who has completed their law school here. And then after that, you need to do what we call articling, but what you guys will call pupillage.
Okay. How long is that?
Okay. So it's it's generally for a year, for 52 weeks. But
Okay.
again, remember how I said that earlier on, sometimes the person's work experience and everything gives them a certain leverage over certain things. So sometimes if I like somebody who has 10 years of practice experience outside of Canada, they kind of sometimes they can waive that articling period for you and say, okay, maybe
Okay.
you have too much experience. We don't see why you need to do this. And then they just admit you straight into the bar. Um,
Oh,
or
okay.
yeah, or you'll say, okay, maybe you have 3 years of work experience outside of Canada. We can give you maybe 6 months exemption. So they expect you to the 6 months, and then after the
Okay.
6 months, they admit you to the bar. But like I said, it's very province specific. Okay, it's not.
Yeah.
This is not the general practice throughout Canada. This is the practice that oh, a number of the provinces go through. The one province that's or the two provinces that are different that I can say is Ontario. So Ontario is like the biggest province in Canada. That's where everyone goes. So Ontario is a province that has a different structure to how they admit students at the bar. They have what they call the LPP program. I forget what it means because I didn't go through it, but it's a program that I think you kind of do like a regulated course for 6 months, and after the 6 months you do the articling with a senior lawyer or with a supervising attorney for that 6 months, and then after that you actually take an exam, a written exam, which is the barrister's exam and the solicitor's exam. So that's the
Oh,
Ontario route. So you need to pass those two
okay.
exams, I think within 3 tries to be called to the bar in Ontario. The other province that I suspect or I know to be different would be Quebec. Quebec is a
Mhm.
French part of Canada, and they
Yeah.
are largely even civil law, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
And so they have a total different situation going on there that I would not
Yeah.
comment on because I'm not familiar with it. But I
You
just wanted to
are.
see that, it was different. Now, the provinces that practice what I went through after you've gotten the Federation of Law Society, after you've gotten the whole NCE exams, the first batch of exams you need to write, after you've gotten that out of the way, there's something we call the Practice Readiness Program, PrEP for sure, Practice Readiness Education Program, and there are a number of provinces in Canada that do that program. In simple, it's called the bar course, and it's so the provinces that do that in Canada are Manitoba, Nova Scotia, Alberta, Saskatchewan. Now, what is the practice readiness program? So remember how I was talking about the articling piece earlier on.
Yeah.
So the practice readiness program is a double-edged program where you do the articling, and as you're doing the articling, you do the bar course alongside the articling. Some people
Okay.
opt, yeah, some people opt to do one before the other, but the way the program is designed for you to do them together because it's that's why it's called practice readiness. They are making you practice ready. That's the most basic way
Yeah.
I can explain it, right?
Nice.
And so
Yeah.
It teaches you the rudiments of the practice of law, client management, ethics, file management, conflicts, um, reading materials, drafting materials, those kind of things. And it's set up in a way that you're supposed to be doing it at the time where you're also articling, so that your growth is together. You see the growth that, okay, when I started articling a year ago,
Yeah, what's okay?
this is how I treated my clients, or this is how I spoke to. They used to piss me off. I didn't have patience. I didn't understand them.
Yeah.
But but as you go ahead and as you learn client management, you learn all of these things, you kind of you just see the change in you. At least for me, that's what I did. I did see the growth in me and just the way that I handled my practice. Um, and so you do that alongside together for a year. I beg your pardon. The practice readiness course is 10 months, and then the articling is a year. And so you do that. So basically, within a year, you should have finished both the practice readiness course and the articling. That was what I did. Um, Now, I will pause here and go back and talk a bit about the articling, because that is where most of the people, foreign trained lawyers don't have control over.
Okay.
Because up until now, the exams that you're writing, all of those things, it's up to you, right? You learn, you decide, you pay for the stuff.
That's
Like,
right.
it's you control that, right? But when it comes to the articling piece, you need to be hired by a firm.
Okay.
Somebody has to take you under their wings. And when you come into this country, one thing about the practice of law in this country is that it is very um, generational.
Okay.
So
Family.
the people that own the law firms is like third, fourth generation, you know. Um, Apart from that, they hire the students out of law school. So that's why I say that the law school here is law school. It's not, there's
Yeah.
no professional. Like, once you finish a 3 year JD program, in the second year, most of the people know where they are going to article. And where you article most of the time is where you end up working for a while. And so, and for a very long time, at least at the time that I and a few of my colleagues were kind of coming into into the system at the time, a lot of the firms didn't know what to do with us.
Didn't know what to do with you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It sounds
Oh.
funny, but they didn't know what to do with us. They didn't, because, and I mean, you also, one thing you also know about the practice of law is that it's very, very conservative. So things don't change easily.
Yeah. Bringing new
And
things is hard.
exactly. And so it's like all of a sudden there's this influx of foreign trained lawyers
Foreign
in the system.
trainers.
And first of all, they're not sure the quality of education that we have, or at least that's what they think.
Yeah. How can
At
they
least
doubt this? How?
at least that's what they think. And mind you, this is not the educational institutes, this is not the law societies, or these are the people that own the firms, like the firm owners and the firms and all of that kind of thing. So they don't know, they're not sure what your
I'm
education
bringing.
is.
Mhm.
They're not sure how you're going to contribute to the firm, because also you need to bring in clients, you need to, so they just didn't know what to do with us, and so it was very difficult. That is
Okay.
the part that is very daunting. The exams, you've taken exams in Ghana already, or wherever you're from. You know how to write
Yeah.
exams.
Mhm.
Um, and it's not doable. Yes, you are learning sort of like a new thing, a new in the legal system, whatever. But then also, I believe that if you've been able to go to law school anywhere, you should be able to write
Yeah.
some basic exams in a legal system.
Yeah.
And so the part that is very heartbreaking, I would say, at least for me, is finding the articling,
Okay.
finding the articling placement. And the other thing too is that you need to find an articling placement that would pay for your bar course, because that bar course is quite expensive.
Is that the prep you talked
Yes,
about?
that's the prep I talked about. It's quite
Okay.
expensive.
Oh.
If you have to pay it out of pocket, bless your heart.
So that's more expensive than the exam you, right? The
Yeah,
$500. Okay,
yeah.
then that's expensive.
Yeah, it's more expensive than that. But the other thing too is that when you get a firm, sometimes they get subsidies. So when the firm pays for you, the law society gives them subsidies on, because sometimes they're paying for like 5 students or 10 students at the same
Right.
time, and so they get some type of subsidies. But if you're paying as me, you you pay what you're supposed. You pay the regular rate, which is quite expensive. It's $6,000 plus. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, even though they have like payment plans and whatever, but at the end of the day, that's how much you're supposed to pay. And so that's why I said that I recommend, or at least for the time, for most of it, that you do the prep program alongside your articling, because then the firm that you're articling with would pay for that course for
You.
you. But because they pay for the course for you too, and they think it's an investment they're doing in you. It's not
Yeah.
it's you think it's for free, it's not for free. They need to
No,
they
it's
need to
not for
earn the money
free.
back.
Yes.
They need to earn the money back some way, somehow. And so, again, that was one of the reasons they didn't know what to do with us, because how are they going to earn the money back with us if they don't know? They
The
just didn't
crap.
know what to do with us. That's just the best way I can put it. And so it just made finding the opportunity very difficult for me, at least, and for the people that I know, some of them. Yeah, because no, you're competing with people that are out of the law school here, that they hired a year. Oh, and that's another thing. They hire a year out, so they don't hire the year. Yeah, they hire a year before. So
Before your completion. So
before you start, no, yeah, before you
before you
start the
start law.
articling, you start the
Okay.
articling. They hire a year before that. So the
Oh
people
wow.
that are going to be articling next year
Know
have already
them.
been hired.
Okay. That's great. So if you
That's
just
the
get into the country and you think you're not writing your bar exams and
Yeah,
they don't know
you
you, they've not hired
no,
you. So
no, you're gonna wait it out. They
wow.
hire a year. Yeah, they hire a year in advance. So the people that will article next year have been hired already. They know where they're going. They know what they're doing. In fact, the late hires are in January, February. That's like even if they're late, they're
Okay.
late. And the program usually starts around May, June. And so that also was an added challenge, because they're hiring a year out. They are already hired people from school. They are some of the students that are legacy students. So their fathers, their uncles, their grandfathers, their things on the farms. So it kind of put you at every disadvantage in terms of trying to get that. They would tell you network, send people cold emails, do all of those things. I did all of those things. Send emails, apply to all of the things I could apply to, did all of those things, attended interviews where it was like 3 rounds of interviews. And at the end of it, they would tell you no. And I asked why. Why?
You don't
Because
know.
I
I
passed the
can't tell
first
you.
round. I was clearly okay. I passed the second round of interviews. I was clearly fine. At the third round is where you're like, so why'd you string me along? Oh, it's not anything. It's just it's not your time. I kid you not. That was the response I was told, that it's not my time. And you're a very good student. You're great. Your transcripts, you have really relevant work experience, all of that. But it's just not. It's just not the time for you.
It's not time for you.
Yeah,
I,
yeah,
I
yeah,
came
yeah,
I came for the interview.
yeah.
I came for, if it was not time for me, why would I come all the way?
Yeah, it wasn't time for me. And they even gave me a hockey analogy. I'm like, I don't even understand the game of hockey. I don't understand the game of hockey.
I
I
tried
was
to be
like,
nice.
yeah, I was like, well, you know how this player was very good, but he didn't get to play last season. Yeah, I believe you. Listen, I can't make this up. I have the email, I can pull it
Seriously.
out.
Seriously.
And
Are
so
there too many foreign trained lawyers in the system
now
or
I
just
wouldn't even say that, I wouldn't use the word too many, but there are a number. There are a number.
okay?
And it's just made it in such a way that competing with the local students, it just became competitive. That's just really it. um
Okay.
Whether the number of foreign trained lawyers were a lot or not, the getting into articling was just always competitive. And I don't want to also take away the fact that it is even competitive at the law school level for them. You know,
Oh,
so
okay.
so
Even
it's
for the
not,
students. Okay.
yeah, even for the students, because some people want to go into a certain practice area or a certain firm, and so in that sense, it is competitive for them. But at least they get an easier in than some of us. Um, and so yeah, so how I actually ended up getting like an articling opportunity was that I had to move provinces. I had to
Oh,
move from where I was staying to a different place because I had a friend that articled with the firm that I'm with right now, and
okay.
they said, "Oh, I'm actually looking for." They were hiring at the time, or they were about to hire at the time for the next batch. And then he kind of told his supervisor about me. His supervisor said, "Send me your resume." I sent a resume, and yeah, he's like, "Well, if you're willing to move out here, this number of kilometers away, um, you'd be hired." And so that's another thing. You have to keep an open mind because if
Yeah.
I just said no, I don't want to move, I would still be probably still attending interviews in Nova Scotia. And
So that so now I want to know, so which province did you write your bar exam in, and which one did you move into? And how are
so,
you able to move from one province to another province so you can practice
okay.
there?
So I was in Nova Scotia. That's why I did my masters, and then that's where I did my LLB. What's my LLB? I did my masters and then the NCA exams, okay,
Okay.
in Nova Scotia. Now the NCA exams has nothing to do with the bar. Or you Let me not say that has nothing to do with it. When you write the NCA exams, you are not affiliated with a law society. So you can
Okay.
move because it's an exam. In fact, some people take that exam outside of Canada. There are people that take that exam in Nigeria, in Ghana, like in India, wherever they're from. It's an online exam. So you can take it in your
Okay.
home country or wherever
Oh,
you are. And so that makes you mobile.
okay.
Honestly, that exam. So after you take that exam, and that's when you apply to be a member of a specific law society in a province.
Okay.
So at the time that I had finished taking the NCAs and I was applying for the articling, I wasn't affiliated with the law society in Nova Scotia at the time. But if I had
Okay.
applied to the law society in Nova Scotia and they had accepted me as a student at law, I would have had to request a transfer from that province to the other province to do the articling or something like that. So I have a friend, for instance, who was in Ontario, had registered with the Ontario Bar,
Okay.
and got an articling opportunity in Manitoba where I am, and so she had to kind of do that kind of logistical thing, change her status from that place and apply here, reapply here. But that's what it. But at the time, I wasn't affiliated with any law society, and so I could move provinces freely.
Oh, that's great. So it means I can stay in Ghana here, write the SE exams,
Yeah,
pass.
yeah,
Then it's only when I have to do the articling and the prep that I have to move to Canada and get
yeah,
a firm in in a province that I'm comfortable with, or I'll be
yeah,
admitted to. Ah,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, so if you're
That makes
lucky and you know somebody and they're like, okay, you pass your NCAs, we will take you into the firm. You can stay wherever you are, and like I said, everything is done virtually. You submit the document, you submit your transcript and everything to them. They assess it and then they tell you, okay, take these exams. And so that's what I did. Or you can, yeah, I have a she's not a colleague, but someone I know right now that works here that um did that. She took her exams in Nigeria,
Mm. Oh,
and
okay.
and she passed the NCAs in Nigeria, and then she came here and she did the Ontario bar. So she did Ontario. She passed the exams in Ontario, and then at that point she got a job in Manitoba, and so she had to
You
transfer
transfer.
her
Okay.
membership to Manitoba.
Ah,
Yes.
it sounds pretty easy. Aside the articling that you talk about, that it's quite difficult to get.
Yeah, so yeah, honestly, that's why I said like for the most of the party, really for the most of it, it's up to you. It's up to you, the individual. You can control most of the moving parts of it. But yeah, the articling piece is where you kind of have to be patient. You kind of have to really be patient, and
Okay.
keep an open mind. That's what I would say. Keep an open mind. Be patient. Um, but also, as I stated earlier, some people have had the articling period waived for them because, they were
Experienced.
experienced or whatever, and then they say, okay, maybe just do the bar course or do this part of the bar course. Actually, I know some people, they're like, okay, just do some part of the bar course and then you're good to go. So it really is on a case to case by case basis. But in my situation, because I didn't practice at all in Ghana, I came straight with my LLB. That's why I
Yeah.
had to kind of go through the entire
It's
process in that
okay.
way. Yeah.
Okay. So now after the NCA, do you have any job opportunities aside getting to the bar and doing your prep and doing your articling? Do you have any job opportunities that are available to you just because you passed your NCA exams?
So somebody said this a while back, and I'll quote that person. It's actually an unfortunate truth that until you're called to the bar, your law degree is like a graphic paper.
That's not that's not fair, but it's true. I
Yeah,
know. It's true.
because it's just because it's a profession, right? It's a profession. So the degree means nothing if you haven't entered the profession.
That's true.
And so yeah, you as for work, you kind of you if it's work, the NCA doesn't give you a job. It's not a certificate that gives you a job.
Okay.
It doesn't. It's not a certificate that gives you a job. Um, Apart from articling, because it's a requirement for articling. It's actually even a requirement for it. Um, but in terms of job opportunities while you're going through this, honestly, you do what you can. You do what you can. I worked as an administrative assistant. I did legal assistant work, and I had a master's degree.
So you're able to do the legal assistance work because of your master's degree, or you got that
No,
job before your master's
actually,
degree?
no. I got it after my master's degree, but it wasn't because of my master's degree that I got it. I just
Okay.
had to do it because I had to take the exams and pay for the exams, and I had to work. So I wouldn't say until I become a lawyer and everything. So there's not really a direct that's what like it's an unfortunate truth until you've actually entered the profession and you're legitimately called a lawyer, your NCA certificate or your law degree, or even in my situation your masters don't actually mean anything. And then I wouldn't say it doesn't mean anything, because my masters, for instance, actually gave me a really good opportunity to actually work on this was when I was actually in the graduate school. I was part of a
Okay.
research team. One of my professors recruited me into his research. He was with this kind of big cross Canada research um, project, and he
Okay.
kind of recruited me into that team, and it was a project I kind of really enjoyed being a part of. And so I wouldn't it's not fair to say my master's degree didn't give me anything. It did give me being a part of that project. My name is part of the published work. It's always going to be there. Um, but in terms of like having a direct employment opportunities because of your NCAs or your law degrees, I don't want to lie and say there's something like that. There's really not much out there apart from maybe legal assistantship positions or paralegal positions. But also note that paralegals here are actually is a trained course. People go to
Yes.
school to be licensed as paralegals.
Yeah. So you have
So
to choose before you get a job in
y-
paralegal.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, even
Okay.
though there are instances where they hire people that were in my kind of a situation, have a legal experience, blah blah blah, to be paralegals or legal assistants, for the most part, they hire people that have actually been trained as paralegals here. But there is an opportunity there that I would say that's the easiest um, opportunity for somebody that has a kind of a legal background that I had to work while they're waiting to be called to the bar, while they're going through the processes, legal assistantship or paralegal work.
That's great. So you know the system in Ghana, the process of becoming a lawyer in Ghana and that of Canada, maybe your province. How how do you compare the two? Do you think one is more complicated and more difficult than the other, or it's basically the same but different ways of doing it?
Do you want me to say the truth?
Yes, the truth. The truth.
I think that I think that the Ghana legal education system, they mean well, but it's executed poorly.
Okay. Get
I
that.
think they mean well because, and I would. I don't want to say, well, the Canadian system is better than that, because that also has its pitfalls, to be honest. It has its pitfalls, has whatever. But obviously I didn't go to law school in Ghana, or the professional law school in Ghana, Makola or KNUST, but I know people who went there, and I know people who are still there. And I know how it is to even get into it. And I get the idea of grooming the people professionally and everything, and how that works alongside with the pupillage and everything. But I think that some of the, or at least, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but then the benchmark is unreasonable, because I believe that for somebody that has been able to put themselves through 4 years of law school in Ghana is good enough to go through the system of having the professionally trained. Because, and here's what I think, because I think that the most important piece is actually the LLB part. In
Yeah.
the law school, you're training them to be professional. That's why it's a professional school. And so the assumption is that at that point in time, they know what they need to know, the substantive part of the law, and how it should be
Yeah.
applied and everything. Now you're teaching them what they need to know as a lawyer, how they need to, they should conduct themselves, they should do things.
Yeah.
And so it makes no sense to me why somebody who would pass the substantive part, and with a part where it's more, it's mostly like a coaching part, it should be so daunting. I think it's unfair. I think it's not reasonable. And that's where I would say maybe the Canadian system has a bit of an upper hand with it, because the way that the Canadian system works is that they assume that anyone who has passed law school, the assumption is that the law school weeds out the people that it needs to weed out. That's how it's kind of like the Canadian law school is difficult. I didn't go there, but I know. I didn't go to Canada, but I know. I know people that went there and everything. It's not easy
Yeah.
to go through it. And so the assumption is that, and they grill them. They kind of, it's really hard work.
Yeah.
And so the assumption is that if the person has gone through that, and at this point they need to be groomed into the profession, and that's what the article is and the bar course is for. That is not the time to also weed out people.
That's
Bring
true.
them into the profession. The profession would weed them out if it needs to.
So it means if the law schools in Ghana are doing a lot of the hard work, then we
Yeah.
don't have to sieve anything going to, we
Or
don't have to
not
see the
sieve as
people.
much, like, or not
Mhm.
in that, we don't need to sieve anything, we don't need to sieve as much, or not, at least not like, not even in the brutal way in which it is done, I think is
It
what
is
I'm
that.
trying to say. Not in the brutal way
Mhm.
in which is done, because, well, Ghana is a sovereign country, they reserve the right to do what they think is right in their eyes. But that thing has just never made, even before um completing LLB, like before, it's that the process has just never made sense to me, to be honest. Like, for somebody
Okay.
to, it's just never made sense to me. I'm sorry, it's just never made sense to me. I think it can be streamlined better. Um, it can be streamlined better. It can definitely be streamlined better. Like, the pressure that students go through there is not necessary. It's not what makes them good lawyers. I'm sorry, but that's just what I think.
That's great. I mean, that's great. I think they are making plans to make things better. I have heard in the news. Hopefully, it gets better and it doesn't
Oh,
get worse. Hopefully,
hopefully,
knowing the system in Ghana, hopefully it gets better.
hopefully,
Now,
yeah,
yeah, that's the only thing we can hope for, because Ghana, dear, sometimes they will think they are doing something right, and then before you know, it gets worse than how it used to be, and that's my
yeah,
fear.
yeah,
But hopefully,
yeah,
it may get better.
yeah,
Now,
hopefully.
so if someone is going through law school in Canada, how many years would the person take to complete law school in Ghana, Canada?
Okay, so the Canadian law school is like how Ghana used to be. The law degree in Ghana used to be post first degree. So it is, if
Okay.
somebody's going to law school, traditional law school in Canada, it is post first degree. So you should have a first degree in any field. It doesn't have to be related. I had a
Oh,
friend
okay.
who had their first degree in music.
Oh, okay.
And they ended up being in law school. So it's really, you just need a first degree, and then you take the LSAT. So they have to take the LSAT, and then the LSAT score is what I believe, you use to apply to the schools, the law schools, and whatever. And it's 3 years. It's 3 years for the
3 years.
JD program. Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
it's 3 years.
So after that, you take your NCA exams, you do
No,
your
so
okay,
if you do the traditional law
law
school, you don't take
school.
the NCA exam. Don't forget, the NCA exam is for foreign trained lawyers.
Foreign trained. Oh, okay.
Yes, yes. NCA exams are just for foreign trained lawyers. So somebody who has done the LSAT and has gone to law school here does not take the NCAs.
So it means that it, so can a foreign trained lawyer take the LSAT, come to the law school there, go through that
Yeah,
process?
yeah, but it doesn't make sense to do that because
Okay.
it's
Okay.
expensive. It's hundreds. You think the NCAs are expensive? Try going to law school in
Oh,
Canada. It's
okay.
hundreds of thousands of dollars in tuition.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it's
Not
not,
advisable.
it doesn't make sense when you can
I
have an
get it.
accelerated route that would bring you to the same point, unless of course the NCA say no, you need to go back to law school, and then you have to, then that's fine. But right out of the bat, no, I would say no, it's unnecessary.
All right. So, okay. I think that works. So you can, I have asked this question earlier. You can stay right here in Ghana, write a letter to whoever is in charge of the NCA and let them confirm whether you can take the NCA with
Yeah, so it's an
the degree.
application. It's the
Okay.
NCA's application. You go to I can give you the websites when we are done, but
Okay.
it's the Federation of Law Societies. You go to their website, they'll ask you. I mean, obviously, I would assume that somebody who wants to become a lawyer knows how to navigate a website.
Yeah.
So, um, so you go there, you would apply with your transcript, your official transcript, and your resume, amongst other things like your house address, your name, your contact information, stuff like that. And then you pay the the application fee. I don't remember how much it was that I paid, but I think it was around the same amount as the exams cost.
Okay.
So, but I don't remember, and it's been a while, and I think they increase it every year. So,
Yeah.
so you do that application. It takes about 2 months for them to get back to you and let you know
Okay.
whether you be admitted into getting right in the NCAs or not. And they will tell you in that email, they'll tell you what courses you are required to take.
So do I get the impression that when you are done with the NCA and you're articling and prepping, you don't have any specialization? You are just a general lawyer in just like any
Okay.
general lawyer in.
Okay. So, all right. So I didn't even finish the prep conversation. So when you do the prep, you have what we call the capstone. The capstone is the exam that you write at the end of
Okay.
the bar course.
Okay.
Um, Everyone takes that prep exam. Like everyone that does a prep course sits for the capstone. It's a week long
Okay.
exam. At least when I did it was a week long exam.
Okay.
About um, they test different areas of. They test whether you're ready to practice, and so they do like a client simulation exercise. So they have exams where it's like you're advising a client, you're meeting a client. So it was kind of similar, like how I'm talking to you and you're my
Yeah.
client and you've come to me and you're telling me this and my
This.
husband wants to divorce me and this da, 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 da. So they set it up like that. Then there's also drafting of contracts. There's negotiating. So you meet co-counsel, you negotiate, and so
Okay.
they mark all of those skill sets, and that's what they call the capstone. And you need to pass that capstone. So once you pass that capstone, then you qualify to be a lawyer.
Okay. And that's a general practitioner, not
Yeah.
with any specialization.
Yeah. So when it comes to specialization, it really depends on you. At the end of the
Okay.
day, most of the time, the firms that people practice in is where they kind of end up or what people do with the during the articling is where they kind of end up practicing. So I did my articling in criminal defense, family, and child protection. I know.
That's like my type. Yeah.
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 And so that's where I did my articling. That's what family I did my articling in, and those were the practice areas that I did during my articling. Of course, I can switch practice areas at any point in time. Once you get called to the bar, you can do as you please with your practice areas. You just need to advise the law society that you're part of what your practice areas are. But yeah, as a general, how to say general, it's specific to most of the time. Mostly, it is specific to the practice area I did when you were articling. It can
Okay.
change. People change it, but generally it is where you did your articling, what parts where you did your articling is where you end up practicing as a lawyer.
Yeah, that helps. Does it pay well? I mean, as much as the exam fees and the LSAT and law school fees, does it really pay well?
Yeah, I would say that even being an articling student pays pretty well. Depends on the province that you're in or the firm that you're in. There are articling students that are paid. So generally, the the average, I don't want to like misquote, but from what I know, I would peg the average articling um salary at 45,000 um dollars a year. And so that brings it to about um let's say before taxes, it brings it to about 3,000 something a month for an articling student.
Okay.
That's what I would say is the average. For But then there are people, the articling students that get paid as much as $60,000 a year in the big firms. Some of them get paid 55,000, 50,000, blah blah blah. So yeah, it's well compensated, I would say. Being a lawyer as well, like even an articling student is paid that being a lawyer, depending on where you practice or whatever, is 3-4 times that amount of
Three
money.
four times. Love the
It
money part.
depending on where you are,
Okay.
depending on your practice area. But obviously, I would say that some practice areas pay more, and I think that's kind of generally the case, like business law firms or um, like the commercial law firms and all of those things. Those ones would pay better.
So you mentioned that Quebec was a civil law province.
Hmm.
So does it mean that it's impossible to transfer from any common law province to Quebec or any of such provinces?
I won't say it's impossible. I just know that they have a different set of rules that they go by there. That is not what the NC or generally what I went through, because I'm from common law and Canada is common law. So I honestly, if I were to give any insights on that, I'll be lying. But I just know it's different. I know it's not the same route for common law students coming into the common law part of Canada. It's a different. Quebec actually, they do most of their things different from Canada. Their immigration procedure is different, their tax system is different, their healthcare part is different. They want to be their own country. So
Maybe one day they will, because that looks
yeah,
like.
yeah. So they're really quite apart from the rest of Canada in a lot of ways.
Anyway, so would you have done it any other way apart from how you did it? So is there anything do you think if you had the knowledge or you had the foresight, maybe you would not have gone through a particular way, a particular system, or you would not have taken a particular exam or a particular course, an elective that you wouldn't have taken?
You know what? When I was in the middle of this whole process, and I would get frustrated. And I remember telling my husband now, by the time my boyfriend, I said, I should have gone to do IT. I'd have been done with this by now. I would have been
Oh.
done with this, but now I was exhausted. It's exhausting. And I didn't really. I just shared the highlights of this journey because that's the focus of this interview. But I've had a
Mm.
very difficult personal journey in this whole thing. Um, talk about later. But now that I'm sitting here, if when I look back, I wouldn't trade that entire process for anything. I am not one for regrets. There are some things that, you're like, huh, I regret doing that. But really, when you say you regret doing that, it's really, I think it's really a part of your brain telling you that if you knew better, you would have done better. And you didn't know
Yeah.
better at the time. And so you did what you could with what you had. And when you regret something that you can't change, I just don't see the benefit in that. And so it was a painful journey. It was a very painful journey for me up until 3 weeks to my call date.
Yeah.
Um, but also, it's been one of the parts of my life that has really brought me closer to God. It has showed me God's faithfulness. It has allowed me to just be grounded in my faith. It has allowed me to look the devil in the face and say, not again, not anymore. It has built me in ways that I don't know if anything else would have been able to build me in that way because I'm the last born.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm the last born. And
Mm.
even though I don't come from a very well-to-do, rich, wealthy family, my family did okay. I had sisters that are quite older than me, and so that meant that they also kind of became independent early, and then I was also able to benefit really from that. I had a very comfortable life. Um, I had an enjoyable life thanks to my sisters, and so um, I don't know that there's any other thing that God could have used to teach me what He has taught me about His faithfulness and His love and His kindness and everything. And also, I don't know that there's any other experience that would have let me build up a certain resilience and resistance against the enemy. And
Um,
so, if you asked me this when I was going through it, if I wanted to tell, no, no, I don't want to do it again.
yeah.
But being on the other side of it, yeah, I I'm grateful to God for it, for the experience of it, for the journey. I am.
It was worth it.
It
It was.
was. It
Yeah.
was. And it's not even about the title lawyer or even the monetary part. Because if I'm being honest, I don't really intend to practice for long. Like I don't intend to practice till retirement. Like that is not my plan.
Same here.
Yeah,
Same
no.
here.
Um, but it's for me, it's just really there's just something that shifts in your mindset when you know that there's a place that God is taking you and you face so much opposition and resistance on the way and you get on the other side of it.
Yeah. Feels
It's
different.
just a feeling, it's a high that I don't know how to explain. It's like
Yeah.
not like no, you can't talk to me anyway, anyhow again.
I get that. I
So
get that.
so for me it's really about that. It's really about honestly, that's all I can say. It's really about how I have walked with God in this journey for me. Yeah.
Y- when I see your post on Facebook, it's like, oh, the girl who loves God. She's a lawyer. It's like I can relate. It's like I can relate to
Yeah.
everything she shares. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
that's great. So it's something that I love about you. It's how you project God. Project God like
Oh,
he's something. And
yeah.
he actually is something, but you actually project him so much that it feels comfortable to be in your presence. Like, okay, we are almost alike. We project God, we love God the same way. God is
Yeah.
doing big things in our lives. So it's like,
Yeah.
I relate with all the things that she talks about. And so
I am
it's beautiful.
I'm so happy to hear that. No, especially that at least somebody sees and recognizes that that I'm projecting God. Honestly, and most of the time, like I'm really just sharing my experience and my growth, and it just really means that God is really in the details of it all. We don't need to look too hard to see it.
Yeah.
Um, One thing that I have promised myself, I said to myself, is that it is not lost on me that God brought me here, because, and this is not me being braggadocious or anything,
No,
but
no, not
I'm
at all.
I am not a dumb person.
Of course.
I'm
Of
not.
course.
Um, I yeah, I had good grades in school, very good grades. I still do. I'm not a dumb person. That's all I can say. And
You are not. Mm.
and I say that somebody say, why is she saying that? It's easy for me to attribute what I've done to my intelligence and to my hard work. It's very easy because I did put in the hard work. I did study. I did all the things that, you're supposed to do and you have to do to achieve the success that you have to achieve. But through it all, it's not lost on me that God brought me here.
Yeah,
And if He brought
that's a
me
good
here,
place to
I
be.
know that He's going to sustain me here. And
And
it just gives me a certain level of dependence, knowing that, and the dependence, it's a two-edged sword. It makes me humble, but it also makes me confident. It makes me humble in knowing that I'm here because of God.
yeah,
But it also makes me confident knowing that because I'm here because of God, unless God says so.
no, yeah. That's
So
true.
no, but I'm happy to hear. And yes, like I said earlier on, I also do have a ton of admiration for your work. Um, I started tried to build a YouTube channel. Listen, I did not have the patience of editing and all of that kind of thing. I'm trying
I
to get back to it.
know. I
But
know.
I admire your consistency. I know how it can feel. Like I know that sometimes even like planning content in itself, it's not the easiest thing to do. um One of the things that I did not like doing was setting like dressing up as setting up like I did not like doing like why I just want to come here and be like this is me. Let's talk. But
And
you
you
have
have
to,
to dress up.
exactly, you have to dress up, you have to look
Yeah.
presentable, you sit down, okay, how is the camera looking? People don't think about all of those things and the mental toll that it kind of takes on the individual, especially
I'm
when
glad
you're a
you understand.
one woman production team. And so
I'm
and so
glad you
no,
understand.
yeah, so congratulations on all the work that you
Thank
do.
you.
Before we end the conversation on the law part though, I do want people that are considering this path to know one thing, that it is doable.
Yeah.
um when I went into the law school, there was this day that I have stories for days. If you leave me, I'll sit here and tell stories all the time.
Let's talk. I mean, we'll cut at a point, but let's talk.
I had a when I entered, like in my first week of the law of my master's program rather, I stepped into the elevator and there was this man in the elevator, and it was my first week. I came into the school late. I just felt out of place. I just didn't feel like I belonged. And I met this man in the elevator. And he asked me, "Oh, where are you from?" He was a black man. I was like, "Oh, where are you from?" Like, "I'm Ghanaian." And like, I really don't want to chat with you or anything. And then he said, "Oh, what course are you taking?" I told him the course I'm taking. He said, "Oh, okay. Oh, you're not in my class." I was like, "Oh." And he said, "Oh, I'm Professor so and so. Come find me if you need anything, you want to talk about anything or whatever." And I said, "Okay." So one afternoon, I don't even know. I just remember that, oh, this man said I should come and look for him. His
Yeah.
office. So I'll just stroll into his office. So I strolled into his office one afternoon, and I think he must have seen the whatever I was feeling on my face. And then
Yeah.
he was just chatting with me and everything. He's obviously told me. He said that I know how it can easily feel that you don't belong here. But he said to me that you applied to the school. They looked at
Yeah.
your application package. They accepted you here. You belong here.
Yeah.
And so act like it
Yeah.
and believe that you belong here, that none of these other students are better than
Yeah.
you.
Means a
And so, for
lot.
anyone that's considering this path or any other path in life, um, you need to own the journey, is what I would say. If being a lawyer is in the cards for you, own own the thing. I know that sometimes what's it called, imposter syndrome, and all of the complexes can come and play, and your mind can play a trick on you and everything. But remember that if you apply to NCEs and they say, okay, come write the exams, you did that.
Yeah,
Everything that you
I
have,
understand.
your transcript proves that you've done the hard work and that you can continue to do the hard work. Um, and so, yeah, that's one thing I want to leave with folks. And as I was talking, one thing that came to mind is about the professions. Like after you've got called to the bar, the kind of practice areas that you can get into in Canada. So really, it's just like Ghana. So, like I said, I do criminal defense, even though I did my article in criminal defense, family, and child protection. I don't like family law. It's all about the law. It's about the people.
Same. Same here.
It's about the
And the
people.
emotions.
Yeah, yeah. At least with criminal law, my client can get mad at me that I didn't get them billed today. Next tomorrow we are friends. Yeah. Uh, but with
But not the
family
two
law, yeah.
lovers who are fighting.
Yeah, like with two lovers, you can never win. Like you really can never win. And so I don't do family law right now. Child protection, I might do child protection in the future, but not right now. So right now my practice is solely criminal defense. Um, you can, if I choose to want to do a different practice area, you can always switch.
Yes,
There are people
yes,
that are
right.
like in-house lawyers. There are people that are government lawyers for the government, different government agencies. They all, have lawyers and they have a legal department, whatever. In the banks have legal departments. Um, I don't even know what else. Corporations. And also another thing that's like a really stark difference between practicing here and practicing back home is that once you get called to the bar in Canada, you can actually start out being a solo practitioner.
Oh,
Yeah.
from your
So
own office.
yeah. So I can leave
So
my
you,
firm today and say I want to be a solo practitioner.
okay.
Yeah.
Ah, okay. So that means so that will be that will be after your articling, right?
Yeah. So after articling, when you
So
do
you
the
get
bar
called to the
ceremony,
bar.
yeah,
Okay. You can start right after.
yeah, you can
So
start right
we
after.
we do the yeah, we do the call to the bar first, then you do your pupillage, then I think you can start right after pupillage, but the experience may not be there. You may not have it. But I
Again,
think some
so why do they grow people through the law school like that if you don't think they can go out on their own and do the work that you've put them through? I don't see the point. But
you
anyway.
you have asked the question, the $1,000,000. I mean, there's some things you may be able to do. You may go to court and move a bill application or do some things, but I think we learn a lot of things on the job, a lot more on the job than in law school, because law school, I mean, the professional law school is more like procedure,
Mm.
and sometimes it's as theory as it is in the undergrad as well. But here we are. We can't change much now, so
I mean,
yeah.
I'm grateful for the supervisor that I had during my articling, but the articling process here, at least for most of the people, and my experience was that I did almost everything that I'm doing right now as a lawyer. So I did my first bill application like 1 month into articling. Yeah,
Articling
yeah,
before you're called to the bar.
yeah,
No, even
yeah.
when you're a pupil in Ghana, you are not allowed to even move a bill application. I mean, per the rules. I know.
I don't know
Let's not talk much about that. But that's
because
the
y-
reality.
yeah, yeah. So no, so everything I'm doing right now. Okay, so that stark difference is that right now I manage my own case files, and then I do right now I can do trials. That was the big thing that I couldn't do trials on when I was an articling student. And the other thing too was that I couldn't do sentences on like serious offenses or indictable offenses, so like aggravated
Yeah.
assault or manslaughter or anything. But I did sentences for clients on any other thing like you know, I don't know, like what assaults, break and enter. Like I did all of that. So again, what's the point of everything they're doing? What's the point?
I know. What's the point? We are asking, what's the point? What's the point? But they may not hear us. And
No.
even if they hear us, they may not do anything about it. So
Mm,
let's face our problems. But thank
yes, thank
you,
you.
Cornelia. Thank you so much. I mean, I've learned a lot. It's like I booked you for a consultation and you've given it all out to me. I hope that
Well,
people who, I hope that
yeah,
people
no,
who want to slowly.
I'm glad. Again, anyone wants to reach out to me, I'm not difficult to find on social media. Um, as well, we will also be inviting you to the Phenomenal Woman in the coming months. This is your heads up.
JJ, I'm excited
So
already.
yes, so we will be invited. But thank you for having me. And like I said, it's always an honor and a pleasure to talk with like-minded sisters. I love it.
Thank you, and all the very best in Canada. I
Thank you
hope to
too.